Planet 7675Y, Sector Subscryte 1, welcome to Borealis. August 12, 2072. The facility's miners have uncovered something. Inside the mountain was a massive deposit of Subscryte, Zypon or Zypo for short, informed the commander of this literal and figurative breakthrough. Little did they know that the deposit was the entire inside. August 26, 2072. A surge of popularity overwhelmed this game called wall ball. A ball is thrown onto a spot on a wall, hence the name. The harder the throw, the more points you earn. The points are added up at the end of the game, and the one with the most points wins. Simple enough. Traditionally, one would spray paint circles on a wall. What caused its trendy outbreak was a business owner. He built a place similar to an arcade where people could go to play wall ball, other games, and order overly priced food. Siron, being the child that he is, invited Draco or Drake to come along with him. Drake was hesitant at first, but in the end, they had a blast. All the other booths were packed, so they had to share one. As they were playing and waiting for their food to arrive, Siren noticed that Drake earned more points than him, no matter how hard he tried. Feeling disappointed, Siren asks, "How did you do that? No matter how hard I try, I always seem to get fewer points than you." "Oh," Drake replied, "you need to remember that it's not about which one you hit. It's about how hard you hit it. It also helps that I have super strength as one of my powers." "Okay, that makes sense," said Siren. Just then, one of the employees walked in and said, "Hey, time's up, guys. Other people are waiting." Luckily, their food arrived. Drake ordered a hamburger because he had never eaten anything from Earth before. He never ate burgers again. Siren ordered spicy chicken wings because he had had them before, and it became his new favorite Earth food. Scratch that, favorite food in general. They both said their goodbyes and walked home. Siren, baffled on why he hasn't gotten any abilities, searched the house for ways to do so. How do I get my powers? Do I just earn them? Maybe a shower will give me powers. Maybe I could look it up. What do you mean, no signal? Eventually, sleep tied its heavy weights to Siren's eyelids, and he drifted into a dream, his first encounter. Siren found himself floating in a deep black void, its immense emptiness not allowing him to consider it either a nightmare or a dream. Siren could see himself, but there was no color, only black and white. He couldn't speak to save his life either. A white figure materialized in the distance, giving a surprise to Siren. He drifted closer, or Siren was floating towards him. Due to there not being anything to compare their distances, for all he knew, they could both be floating toward each other. Siren couldn't really tell, but it looked as if he were missing half his body. As the two grew closer to each other, Siren could hear whispers. "Cyan, Sigh and on." "Siren!" Suddenly, large letters that spelled his name flashed before him, and the whispers grew louder and became normal speech, almost shouting. They were close enough for Siren to see that he wasn't missing half of his body. In fact, it was black and blended in with the rest of the bottomless dwelling in which insanity thrives. The voices then sounded strange, specifically a mixture of a heavenly woman's voice and a hellish man's voice. It jerked and reached its black hand for Siren, and August 27th, 2072. The alarm's piercing bleeps woke up Siren, and he realized that he was sleeping on the floor. He got up and got dressed. No, he was still dressed. Dreams like that don't just happen. Not to Lizat's anyway, said Siren. Siren, for breakfast, was going to his local cafe donut store. Open for 35.10863 years, it was still going strong with an average of 60 customers a day, and only open till noon. On the way there, Siren couldn't help but hear people spreading rumors. "Have you heard about this crystal that allows you 2 extra abilities when touched?" asked a lizard. "Yeah," another lizard added. "It's called Subscryte, and is super rare." "No wonder it's so valuable," said a snake. "That's it," said Siren. "What I need is that gem." That was all he needed to skip breakfast. He couldn't arrive at Drake's house faster. 3 too early. Siren repeatedly smashed the doorbell at the speed of light. "No, faster than that." Angry, Drake swung the door wide open and said, "What is it?" Surprised to see Siren, he followed it up with, "Oh, sorry, I just wasn't expecting any visitors this early in the morning." But it's 8:33, said Siren. Yeah, early, said Drake as if it were obvious and or true. His expression, though obscured by his hood, clearly hinted toward his point. Is that why? Never mind. Anyway, Drake took a deep breath. What the heck was so important that you had to basically destroy my doorbell? I just wanted to know if you knew someone who could help me get some Subscryte. Like a merchant, asked Siren. Even if you did find anybody, you most likely don't have the money for such a purchase. I suggest looking for it on your own. But do you know a Lizette that could help? Me? Not a Lizette. Drake had written it on a piece of paper, 193-023-1983. It felt to Siren as if he were in some sort of spy movie where they had to keep a low profile. Siren could never see a prank coming, but this time he was very wary of it. Most likely because he's really hoping that it's not. What to eat? What to eat? I have ramen, or ramen, said Siren as he was rummaging the shelves. Ramen was the only thing he kept in his pantry. In his fridge, he kept fruits and vegetables. And when I say that, I mean dragon fruits and the world's hottest peppers. Siren set a pot of noodles to boil and cut some pork belly. He chopped some green onions and added one of those weird white and pink swirly things. On another pot, Siren boils eggs with the yolk still runny. One would ask why he goes this far for a bowl of ramen. On Borealis, 7,675 YY, ramen is sold as noodles that are not microwavable. In fact, the only food item cooked in a microwave on Borealis is popcorn. He also threw a Flares Reaper in for some extra spice. Siren sat down with his bowl. Yeah, I'm gonna wait. Let's check that phone number, said Siren. 1-9-3-0-2-3-1-9-8-3. Siren read each digit aloud, all the while typing it in. No ants. A series of dots and dashes in uniform code played out in the same 4 characters. Well, this was a waste of time. Wait a minute. That's the human code made by Samuel Morse. That's clever of him, using a human language. Siren had always kept a universal translator in a drawer somewhere. And people say it's useless. I knew this would come in handy. Siren blurted across his house while rummaging his drawers. All right, let's see what this says. 43, that's an old house. Definitely not Drake's. 4, meeting of a lifetime. Siren stepped up to the house. He rang the doorbell and was surprised to hear the song that plays at the end of Five Nights at Freddy's, a game made by Scott Cawthon. Just about 30 seconds passed before Siren was startled by a creeper swinging the door wide open. He was talking so loud that Siren could only understand every other word. Hey, the name's Creepotinus de Media, though. Most people just call me Creepy, however he will, care which name youpie. I'm sorry, did I startle you? I'm more or less confused with whatever you said. Sorry, the name's Creepy. Come on in. The house looked normal on the outside, but on the inside it looked like a store and the home of a conspiracy theorist. Well, I'm assuming you're here to ask about something rare, valuable, or mysterious, said Creepy. In this case, I think it might be all 3, said Siren while staring at the bulletin board full of conspiracies about the 3 secretly being humans, and how Earth is supposedly a made-up planet, and there being an entire civilization on another sector on the other side of Borealis. Ooh, the more the better. So what is it? Cut to the chase. It's a gem slash crystal slash mineral slash diamond, strangely named Subscryte. I'm looking for it because, for some reason, I have no powers. Yes, I know all about it. In fact, it's believed to come from the bones and fossils of gods. I need to know if a 16-year-old Lizard obtaining Subscryte in any way, shape, or form is plausible and or possible. Well, you're in luck. All right, let's go. Siren acted as if he had finally beaten the Poppy Playtime Chapter 3. Boss battle, it is very confusing. You have 3 options. Option 1, you buy a pickaxe and head out for 3 years mining for 1. Option 2, you buy mine. The reason I came to you was to find an alternative to buying one. And good thing too, because I spent 3 years trying to find it, and I ain't giving it away. And finally, option 3, You steal it from a facility in the Flares region. Siren's face lit up. Now you're speaking my language. Before I tell you more, you need to know there is always a drawback to these crystals of some kind. Either you will lose something, or something bad will happen around, or to you. These consequences can range from bad luck for an hour to friends or family quite literally ceasing to exist. This is a serious risk, but depending on the catch, it might be worth it. People don't spread this in rumors because they don't want to believe in something that can burn their house down. I don't want to discourage you, but you need to know this. I understand. Good. So where is this laboratory? I have a map, actually. Creepy handed Siren a folded map of the Flares region and a little bit of the Florals region. Siren unfolded it and observed it carefully. The highlighted path is the quickest route from Ivy Village to a 600-meter radius of the place. They both stand up as Siren is about to leave. One more thing before you go. Creepy walked into another room to retrieve something for Siren. He ends up bringing out a sword and a strange device. A katana? You do realize the average Lyzit is not able to properly wield one of these? It's not rocket science, just swing the damn thing. First of all, language. Second of all, you're probably right. If you really have no powers, going out into uncharted territory is a death sentence. There's actually a gang of flares called the Eternal Embers, known for ambushing wanderers. What's this thing? A communication device. No, that's tampered with AirPod. Trust me when I say that I have tested it, and it worked. Fine, I trust you. Now go, because the sooner you get there, the better. Creepy froze Siren and pushed him out the door and unfroze him. And remember that nobody can be around the Subscryte for it to work. Creepy shut the door. Unless it's bigger than a house, he mumbled to himself. Now that was the meeting of a lifetime, said Siren. I have a feeling that if I got to know him, we might be friends. 5. A new reptile friend. Siren went home. He packed things to bring with him. He packed canned goods, matches, a pot, and charcoal. Then the thought occurred to him. Wait, if I'm venturing out into the Flares region, I should look like a flare. He pressed the button on the inside of his hood and pants. The button was originally made for pranks. One could pretend to be of a different clan, typically the Flares. It turned out to be very realistic, almost indistinguishable. Well, it's getting dark. I should eat something, said Siren. He set up a pot of food over a fire. The food didn't need cooking, it was pre-cooked, but Siren preferred it warm. The food smelled good, but a noise caught his attention and pushed it in another direction out in the middle of the red section. Is that a building powering up? Oh, wow, it is, said Siren. Red floodlights powered on in a sequence up the facility's walls. 2 spotlights on either side. I'll give you 2 guesses what color. Lit up and moved. One shone in Siren's direction, but they did not see him. It was glimmering in the distance. It looked almost beautiful. The sand below it bathed in the sea of red dot. There was a rustle in a shrub nearby. Scared it was a flare, Siren drew his sword. There was a hissing sound. He turned and caught a glimpse of tail. Whatever it was, it jumped into the air at Siren and he grabbed it by the neck and shoved it down. It was a Flare's snake. Wait, come on. The one, come on. It was just a prank, said the snake. I'm sorry, who? And what kind of prank is that? Said Siren. But DINO&CreepY asked, you know I like to play pranks like that. Stop calling me that. My name is Siren. He lunged for my face and calls it a prank? Okay. You're supposed to tell me yours. Okay, I'm Snocko. DINO&CreepY asked is he paused, friend mine. He calls me Snaky. The light of the fire illuminated Siren. Oh, you're a Lyzit, not the hybrid I thought he was. Tell you what, I'm actually a Floral. If you tell me your real clan, I might let you help me with this mission, so to speak. Snaky observed Siren for a moment. How do you know I'm not actually a flare? Siren sighed in annoyance. Do you want in or not? All right, fine, I'll join your thing. Wait, have you recruited anyone else? Just a creeper. You're good with that, right? He stopped to think. I mean, not like you have a choice. Snaky looked down at the blade that had been at his neck the whole time. How long has that been there? Don't worry about it. I guess I don't have a choice. Siren lifted his sword. Snaky looked over at Siren's plans. So what's this, and what's the mission? This whole time, Siren never thought to tell Snaky what it was he was doing. Follow me, said Siren as he guided Snaky toward the massive laboratory looming beyond. My senses say heist. Do they have something you want? They have something I need. Snaky shifted his vision to Siren, who looked almost mesmerized. What is it? Siren looked down at him. A Subscryte crystal. Wait, what? No. I promised him I made a vow to Theoni, who asked to never even look at... Whoa, okay, slow down a notch. What's all this about? Theoni, who asked, owned one of these gems. We kind of unknowingly gave it to some really bad people, and they ended up killing many people with... I forgot their powers. It was like the Force from Star Wars. You mean that movie Humans made a long time ago? Siren sat down on the hill of sand. Yeah, it's crazy how much they got right before they had the tech to come see other planets. Anyway, I told the who asked that I would never even be in the presence of one of those crystals. As far as we knew, all they caused was harm. Snaky felt guilty. He slithered over back to the campsite. They sat down and started brainstorming. Break in at closing hours? No, they're 24/7s. Sneak in? No, there are too many guards. Explode the place and see what's left? No, the risk of losing the crystal in the explosion is too high. Wait a second. Let's contact Creepy. The creeper I told you about. He might have an idea. Do you have a phone? Siren checked his pockets, almost frantic. Oh, I must have forgotten it. I guess I was focused on the necessities that I wasn't thinking about. But I do have this. Siren pulled out the device Creepy gave him. The creeper I told you about, he gave me this and told me we could contact each other with it. But I know what it is, but I think we don't have a lot of options. All right, let's see if it works. The device had a small button panel with 9 numbers. Siren carefully punched in the numbers. The buttons were so tiny he had to use his fingernail. 193, 023, 1983. He placed it in his ear. It made more boops and beeps. Siren thought it sounded like more Morse code, however, had now a way to translate it all the way out there. Then sounded the same tune as Creepy's doorbell. Hello, welcome to Creepy's Keepies, trademark. Where anything you can find here, you can keep but for the right price. How may I be of service? 6. This calls for a plan. It took some effort for Siren to hold down his laugh. Hey, it's Siren, the Lizette you talked to. I'm close to the building you told me about. Ah, yes, the one with the Subscryte crystal. I'll have to help you later. Siren was baffled. Wait, me? No, not you. Then who? Dude, you're gonna have to wait around. I'm talking to someone. Are you talking to me? Dude, if you're going to be impatient, you can just leave. Siren heard someone in the background curse and slam the door shut. Sorry, I was dealing with an impatient customer. What is it? We're planning on how to get this thing. I hoped you could give us some ideas. Wait, who's we? A snake I found out here who wants to join. His name's Snaky. Okay, here's what you could do. Snaky can slither through the vents and disable any cameras that can see your path. You will disguise yourself as one of the workers to get into the room with the Subscryte. You put it in a case and you both leave while nobody suspects a thing. That's good and all, but how do we communicate? I'm the only one who can hear you right now. Well, Snaky must have powers. Ask him what they are. Snaky, what are your 2 powers? Siren looked back at him. He was curled up next to the fire. Fabrication of objects and duplication of objects, Snaky said as he lifted up his head. He said, I know, I got it, and it's very useful. How about Snaky make another one of that thing I made you, and then we can make a 3-way. All right, we'll try it. Snaky, you know what to do, but I don't. Siren took the device out of his ear and set it on the ground. Snaky moved slowly up toward it. He closed his eyes. It took a few seconds, yet felt like an eternity. A small light formed next to it. It took shape, long with the little earpiece, then the button panel. Color started to fade in as the light faded out. Finally, the light left completely and left an identical copy sitting there. Wow, that really is a duplicate. Now for the case. Hold up there, Siren. I need to know the dimensions of the crystal in order to make a container. Creepy. You think you can fill me in on that? Snaky said as he put on the device. As a matter of fact, I can. I can hack into their security camera system so I can see what they see. All right, where is it? Oh. Creepy came to a dark room with two figures on the floor moving back and forth. Luckily, the camera didn't record audio. What is it? What do you see? Siren said. Snaky. Siren, whatever you do, don't go into room 40. What? 40? Why? Snaky said. Just trust me on this one, okay? Now where's the room with... Here it is. Oh, and I don't have to use pixel measurements. Someone's putting a ruler to it. It's 11 inches. No, it's exactly 1 foot tall. And the top is a classic diamond shape. Hexagon or octagon? Snaky asked. Octagon. Do you know how wide? Also 1 foot. All right, we got the dimensions. Now let's do this thing, Siren said. There was the light. The process was even slower this time, probably due to there not being an original to copy. This was the original. It was done. Now all there was left to do was wait for midnight and proceed with the mission. 7, little do they know. August 28th, 2027. Come midnight, the two started toward the enormous facility. As they walked, Snaky drifted away from Siren, headed to the vent, while Siren remained for the door. It was expensive looking and made of what looked to be solid steel. It moves up and down. 4 big bolts on each side. There was a panel to the right of it. It had a speaker, a mic, a screen, and buttons in the same form as on the device. As he drew closer, the feeling of the fact that they might not let him in grew. He reached the door and the lady in the speaker said, "Who is this?" Your mom," Siren said, almost regretting his words. He had hoped there was a jokester that worked there. There was a small pause, as if the lady was silently thinking to herself. "Really? Michael, are you late again?" Yes, I'm sorry. All right, let's get you suited up. The others have already started." The door opened with a hiss. It opened vertically like a hatch. He walked in and was surprised to see the lady standing right there. She pointed to the changing room and said, "There's the changing room. Here's your suit. You know what to do." She then proceeded to walk into another room. Siren stepped into the changing room and found only one uniform. "Wow, Michael really is late," Siren said as he put on the suit. "All right, guys, I'm in." "So am I," said Snaky. "I figured I'd just shut off all the cameras. Might as well, right?" "Sure, you do that, and I'll just go where I need to go." "Also, Creepy, which room is it in?" "Room 34, as odd of a coincidence that is." As Siren walked through the empty hall, the silence seemed comforting. In all his life, he had never really experienced true silence. As the doors were numbered, they were also labeled with the different things they did here. October 5th, 2025. Hi, Storyteller here. It seems this installment never got finished. But don't worry, the story itself has. The only problem is that it is simplified, has no dialogue, has no jokes, and was originally meant for an animation. I'm forwarding you to it now. Come nightfall, they finally begin what they set out to do. Plan *. The Subscryte was almost in Theer possession, but then someone caught Siren. They held him captive until they decided what to do with him. Because he was one of Theer's scientists, they would let him go. All they asked in return was to know what he was doing with it. Snaky then told Siren that he was going to rig the place with C4. That was how the people heard Snaky and took away Siren's earpiece. The people ended up leaving. Creepy disabled the door, letting Siren get the crystal and his things. Siren booked it down the hall and out the door. Just then, Snaky ignited the C4. Explosion. With the facility down to the ground, the now friends headed to camp with the Subscryte. It was time to decide who got the abilities. Snaky and Creepy already had powers. That made it obvious. Siren touched the Subscryte. Nothing. It didn't work. Siren tried multiple times. Nothing. It was a fake. But why would they study a fake Subscryte crystal? Creepy said that he heard that the Flares got Theer crystal from a different clan. It was the Liminals, yellow. Siren asked if they might have a real crystal. Snaky tuned in and said that he knew the sector with the most Subscryte. Creepy and Siren asked what it was. Snaky said that it was the remnants, purple. Siren said that you need a quarry pass and a CTTTC. Creepy and Snaky asked what a CTTC was. Siren, before answering, was confused about how they didn't know what a CTTTC was. He then said that it stood for Crystal Temptation Training Certificate, which can both be gotten in the aquatics blue sector. So they fabricated a futuristic version of a motorcycle and headed across two borders and into the aquatic sector. Meanwhile, the command center in charge of the research facility found out about the theft and detonation that happened there. The commander there got really mad when he heard what happened and who did it. He sent a troop of soldiers after Siren and Snaky. The two arrived at the aquatic sector and asked around for a way to get a CTT. It was then that they noticed the troop of flares that followed them. An aquatic quickly tells them that the temple's in the abyssal lake at the edge of the world. Nobody knows exactly where it is, but he said he could give him a map with an estimate location. They then rush out of there without being seen, or so they thought. Siren and Snaky set up camp about halfway between the town they left and the approximate location. At that point, it was nearly morning, and they had gotten no sleep. They took a 15-minute nap and got back on the road. When they got there, Snaky made a boat. Just then, they suddenly teleported all the way to the remnant sector. They were confused, disoriented, and in the middle of the most dangerous flare mine site. They hid in a storage unit. It was dangerous because the most dangerous flare was here. They got out and tried to sneak their way out of there. They barely got out without being seen. They then set up camp for the third time. It was easy because of Snaky's power. They both went to sleep because they only got 15 minutes of sleep. They both got woken up by something. Snaky checked outside and was shocked at the sight of a massive crystal. He told Siren to take a look at it. Siren was also surprised. He wondered how they didn't see it before. It looked like people were doing something to it, so they went to go investigate. It turned out that a team of remnants were cutting it into smaller pieces. Siren told Snaky that he wanted a piece. Then a remnant jumped in and said that he couldn't. Siren was usually a law-abiding Lizat, but that remnant's tone of voice triggered a spring lock in him. He hurdled the barrier and claimed the entire Subscryte crystal to himself. He finally had his powers. But what was the cost? Just then, the giant volcano that had laid dormant for centuries awoke. The question had been answered. Then, the most dangerous flare, Solar the Lyzit, came to the site. The remnant then decided to be a little snitch and told Solar what happened. Solar obviously got really mad at Siren, but also told the remnant that they had bigger problems to deal with. Then little by the volcano erupted. Then all of a sudden, Creepy, Snaky, Siren, and Solar were instantly teleported to the egg of the world, or at least what Siren assumed at the time. Asterisk fight scene asterisk. Siren is running out of ideas. Creepy had never told him about his powers, so he asked him what it was. Creepy could freeze people and levitate objects. They use that to their advantage, but it doesn't work. Siren is subdued. Right before Siren said his last word, the person behind the teleportation made his presence known. He told everyone his name. DINO&CreepY asked the hybrid and confronted Solar. He told Solar about how much of a loss it would be to kill a Lyzit that got such a big Subscryte crystal. Snaky, Creepy, and Siren then realized that he was buying them time to recuperate. DINO&CreepY moved out of the way, then Siren used his second power, Fire Breath. He takes Solar and holds him over the edge and says the same thing that Solar said to him. Then he lets go. Snaky asked Siren if it was the end. Siren said yes, but only for Solar. He told Snaky, Creepy, and DINO&CreepY that he thinks there are other people out there that might want a piece of him, but at least he isn't alone in this. And now, he realizes how stupidly hungry he is. Not just him. So they go to get some food. Asterisk, roll credits, asterisk. Once the credits are over, we see the gang, Creepy, Snaky, and Siren, discussing what to do next. Snaky mentions the second sector. Siren asked what it was. Snaky explained, and then asterisk, black asterisk, the end.